Christmas movies usually promise safety. They soften danger with music. They disguise tension with humor. They make crime feel harmless. Jingle Bell Heist, 2025, pretends to do the same. Bright decorations, fast dialogue, a heist that looks playful instead of threatening. But that tone is a lie. This is not a movie about clever criminals. It's a movie about pressure, about desperation, about how people justify crossing lines when time runs out. This documentary is not a recap. It's an excavation. Because Jingle Bell Heist isn't asking, is stealing wrong? It's asking, why does it start feeling reasonable? Fact 20. This movie uses Christmas as camouflage. From the first scene, the film feels festive and light. The colors are bright, the pacing is quick, and the music creates a sense of harmless chaos. This is deliberate misdirection. Christmas works as emotional camouflage. It lowers the audience's guard and creates a false sense of safety. People expect forgiveness during the holidays, not consequences. The movie exploits that expectation. It hides tension behind decorations and wraps moral discomfort inside humor. By the time the darkness becomes visible, the viewer is already relaxed and invested. That is how the film smuggles heavy ideas past the audience without resistance. Fact 19. This is not a fun heist film. Most heist movies are fantasies. Plans are smart, characters are charming, and failure feels unlikely. Jingle Bell Heist rejects that fantasy. The plan here isn't born from brilliance. It's born from urgency. The characters are not masterminds. They're people under pressure. Every decision feels rushed. Every conversation carries stress. Instead of excitement, the film builds anxiety. You're not watching people outsmart a system. You're watching people convince themselves they have no other option. That shift removes glamour and replaces it with discomfort. Fact 18. The heist is a symptom, not the real story. The robbery itself is not the core conflict of the movie. It is a symptom. The real story begins much earlier, with financial stress, fear of failure, broken trust, and quiet desperation. The film shows how small compromises accumulate. Each compromise feels manageable on its own, but together they lead somewhere irreversible. No character wakes up wanting to commit a crime. They wake up wanting relief. The movie makes it clear. People rarely chase crime. They chase escape. Fact 17. There is no clear villain in the story. One of the most unsettling choices in Jingle Bell Heist is the absence of a traditional villain. No corrupt mastermind, no obvious bad guy. Everyone involved has reasons that make sense. To them. The film refuses to simplify morality. Instead of asking who is evil, it asks, at what point does understanding turn into complicity? This removes emotional distance. The audience cannot relax by blaming a single character. The people on screen feel familiar, and that familiarity is uncomfortable. Fact 16. Christmas creates false urgency. Christmas is not just a setting. It's a pressure cooker. Deadlines feel final. Opportunities feel temporary. Everyone believes this is their last chance. The holiday rush compresses time and distorts judgment. The film shows how urgency changes decision-making. When people believe time is running out, they stop asking if something is right and start asking if it's fast enough. That's when rational thinking collapses, and bad ideas begin to feel necessary. The trap is set. By the end of part 1, the film has already closed the trap. The tone feels fun, but the pressure is real. The plan feels clever, but the motivation is fear. And morality has already started to bend. In part 2, we'll go deeper. We'll explore how group psychology accelerates bad decisions, why shared guilt feels safer than personal responsibility, and how trust turns into pressure, because once everyone agrees, stopping becomes the hardest option. By now, the audience has stopped asking whether the heist is right. The question has quietly shifted to something else. Can they pull it off? And that shift is dangerous, because the moment people stop questioning morality, They start managing logistics. This is where the real damage begins. Fact 15. The group dynamic erases individual guilt. One of the film's most accurate psychological observations is how quickly responsibility disappears inside a group. Alone, every character hesitates. Doubts surface. Fear feels personal. But once the group forms, those doubts soften. Risk becomes shared. Blame becomes diluted. No single person feels fully accountable anymore. The heist doesn't feel acceptable because it's smart. It feels acceptable because everyone agrees. The film captures a real phenomenon. When guilt belongs to everyone, it effectively belongs to no one. This is how ordinary people cross extraordinary lines without realizing it. Fact 14. Trust becomes a tool of pressure. In Jingle Bell Heist, trust is not a safety net. It's a weapon. Characters don't trust each other because the plan is safe. They trust each other because doubt would force them to stop. Questioning the plan feels like questioning the group. And questioning the group feels like betrayal. The film shows how loyalty can override judgment. Saying, "I trust you," becomes another way of saying, "I don't want to think about this anymore." Trust doesn't remove risk. It silences hesitation. Fact 13. Humor is used to numb moral discomfort. The film frequently injects humor at critical moments. Jokes appear when tension rises. Laughter follows risky decisions. This is not accidental. Humor functions like anesthesia. It dulls fear. It makes danger feel manageable. It creates emotional distance between action and consequence. The audience laughs and relaxes. The characters laugh and move forward. The film uses comedy the same way people do in real life, to avoid facing uncomfortable truths. By the time the humor fades, the damage has already been done. Fact 12. Every character has a reason, and that's what makes it dangerous. No one in this film believes they are doing something evil. Every character has a justification that makes sense within their own logic. One needs money. One feels trapped. One believes this is temporary. The film never mocks these reasons. It presents them seriously, and that seriousness is what makes them dangerous. When every action has a reason, morality becomes negotiable. The line doesn't vanish instantly. It shifts gradually, one excuse at a time. By the time anyone notices, the line is already behind them. Fact 11. Planning creates a false sense of control. The more detailed the plan becomes, the safer everyone feels. Roles are assigned, routes are memorized, timing is rehearsed. Planning gives the illusion of mastery. But the film quietly undermines this belief. Every plan depends on predictability, silence, and cooperation. Reality offers none of these. The movie exposes a harsh truth. Planning does not eliminate uncertainty, it hides it. The more detailed the plan, the more fragile it becomes. Control in this story is an illusion people cling to when chaos feels unbearable. The point of no return. By the end of Part 2, the moral ground has completely shifted. No one feels innocent anymore, but no one feels guilty enough to stop. The group has crossed an invisible line, not because they wanted to, but because turning back now feels worse than moving forward. In Part 3, the pressure explodes. We'll explore how time becomes the real enemy, why fear accelerates bad decisions, and how everything collapses in seconds, because once the heist begins, there is no clean exit. By now, the characters have crossed the moral line. But something more dangerous has happened quietly. They no longer feel like they're choosing. They feel like they're running out of time. And when time becomes the enemy, thinking becomes a liability. Fact 10. Time becomes the real antagonist. In Jingle Bell Heist, time is not neutral. It is aggressive. Christmas compresses everything. Deadlines feel final. Opportunities feel temporary. The characters don't believe they can wait, rethink, or pause. The film shows how urgency rewires the brain. When people believe time is running out, they stop comparing options. They latch onto the first solution that promises relief. This is not stupidity, it's survival psychology. The characters don't choose the smartest plan. They choose the fastest one. Time pressure doesn't just increase risk. It makes risk feel necessary. 9. The plan creates overconfidence, not safety. As the plan takes shape, confidence rises. Roles are assigned. Steps are memorized. Everyone starts believing the situation is under control. But the film quietly exposes a dangerous illusion. Planning doesn't remove uncertainty. It hides it. The more detailed the plan becomes, the more fragile it actually is. Every step depends on silence, precision, and cooperation. One unexpected variable is enough to collapse everything. The movie shows how preparation can become emotional armor, a way to feel safe without actually being safe. 8. Fear does not slow them down. It speeds them up. In most stories, fear causes hesitation. Here, fear does the opposite. As pressure increases, doubt becomes dangerous. Hesitation feels risky. Stopping feels worse than moving forward. The film captures a brutal truth. Fear can masquerade as confidence. People act quickly not because they're sure, but because slowing down would force them to face how unstable everything really is. Momentum replaces judgment. Speed replaces clarity. Fear doesn't stop the heist. It accelerates it. Fact 7. Secrecy becomes necessary, not wrong. One of the film's quietest but most important shifts happens here. Lying stops feeling immoral. It starts feeling practical. Secrecy is framed as protection. Omissions become efficiency. The characters convince themselves that keeping secrets is the only way to keep everyone safe. The movie shows how morality bends when secrecy is rebranded as responsibility. Once lying becomes normal, truth becomes a threat. And when truth feels dangerous, collapse is inevitable. Fact 6. Everything unravels in seconds, not hours. The film repeatedly emphasizes how fast control disappears. Plans don't fail slowly. They fail suddenly. A delayed response, a mistimed move, a moment of panic. These tiny disruptions create massive consequences. The movie rejects the fantasy that crime unfolds cleanly or cinematically. Instead, chaos arrives without warning. By the time the characters realize something is wrong, it's already irreversible. The tension peaks not because the plan fails, but because it almost works. The illusion shatters. By the end of Part 3, the heist has changed shape. It is no longer about money. It is no longer about planning. It is about survival. The characters are no longer acting. They are reacting. Fear has replaced strategy. Momentum has replaced choice. In Part 4, we deal with what comes next. We'll explore why the damage doesn't end when the heist ends, how guilt and paranoia take over, and why trust cannot survive shared crime, because the real cost of crime is never paid during the act. Every heist story promises the same illusion. If you get away, it's over. Jingle Bell Heist refuses that lie, because the moment the plan ends, something far worse begins. Fact 5. The heist does not end when the money is taken. In most crime films, success is defined by completion. The moment the objective is achieved, tension dissolves. Here, the opposite happens. Once the heist is over, the adrenaline fades, and reality rushes in. The characters don't feel victorious. They feel exposed. Every sound feels suspicious. Every silence feels dangerous. The film makes it clear, stealing something does not give control. It destroys it. From this point forward, life becomes fragile. Nothing feels stable anymore because something irreversible has already happened. Fact 4. Guilt enters quietly, not dramatically. There are no breakdown scenes, no emotional confessions, no cinematic guilt. Instead, guilt arrives slowly, through sleepless nights, through forced smiles, through conversations that suddenly feel strained. The film understands that real guilt doesn't announce itself, it settles. Each character carries it differently. Some rationalize it, some bury it, some pretend it never happened, but none of them escape it. Guilt becomes a constant presence, altering how they move through the world. Fact 3. Shared crime destroys trust from the inside. Earlier, trust held the group together. Now it begins to decay. Every glance feels loaded. Every mistake feels intentional. Every silence feels like a threat. The same trust that enabled the heist now threatens to expose it. The film reveals a brutal truth. Shared secrets do not create lasting bonds. They create permanent risk. When everyone knows something dangerous, everyone becomes dangerous. The group dynamic collapses under its own weight. Fact 2. The characters realize they were never in control. This is the moment when the illusion finally dies. The characters believed planning gave them power. They believed speed gave them safety. They believed teamwork gave them protection. None of it holds. The film makes something painfully clear. Control was never theirs. They didn't outsmart the system. They survived it temporarily. Now they live with uncertainty. They can't undo what's been done. They can't return to who they were. And they can't pretend nothing changed. This realization doesn't explode. It sinks. Nothing feels clean anymore. By the end of Part 4, every illusion has collapsed. The heist wasn't clever. It was desperate. The success wasn't freedom. It was burden. And the money was never the prize. In Part 5, we reach the final truth. We'll explore what the real heist was. Why this story isn't actually about crime and the question the film leaves with the audience, because when everything is over, something important is still missing. By now, the noise is gone. The plan is finished. The rush is over. The money has changed hands. And yet, nothing feels complete. This is where Jingle Bell Heist stops pretending to be a crime story and reveals what it was really stealing all along. Fact 1. The real heist was never about money on the surface. This film looks like a Christmas crime story. A risky plan, a tight window, a desperate score. But when everything settles, one truth becomes impossible to ignore. The real heist was not financial. It was emotional. What gets stolen in this film is not cash. It's peace of mind. The characters don't walk away richer. They walk away changed. They lose trust in each other and in themselves. They lose the ability to feel safe inside ordinary moments. They lose the comfort of believing they are good people who did a bad thing. The film makes a brutal point. Some choices solve immediate problems but permanently alter who you are. And once that shift happens, there is no going back. The film's final statement on crime. Most crime films ask one question. Did it work? Jingle Bell Heist asks a different one. Was it worth becoming someone else? The movie never lectures. It never moralizes. Instead, it shows the cost quietly. There is no celebration, no sense of victory, no emotional release, just adaptation. The characters learn how to live with what they did, and adaptation is not the same as healing. Why the ending feels unsettling. Many viewers describe the ending as empty or unfinished. That reaction is intentional. Real consequences don't wrap themselves up neatly. They linger. The film refuses to tell you who deserves punishment. It refuses to show justice balancing the scales. Because real life doesn't work that way. Some people carry guilt forever. Some convince themselves it was necessary. Some bury it so deeply they stop feeling anything at all. The movie doesn't decide for you. It leaves that discomfort in your hands. Christmas as the final irony. Christmas usually represents forgiveness, warmth, and fresh starts. In this film, it represents contrast. The world celebrates while the characters fracture. Lights shine brighter while guilt settles deeper. The film uses Christmas not to soften the story, but to expose it. Nothing reveals internal damage more clearly than external joy. Why just this once is the most dangerous phrase. Every character believes this is temporary. One last job, one desperate decision, one shortcut to relief. The film dismantles that belief completely, because once you justify crossing a line, the line doesn't disappear behind you. It moves with you. Judgment shifts, standards change, and the next compromise becomes easier. This is the film's darkest truth. What makes this movie stay with people? Jingle Bell Heist doesn't shock audiences. It unsettles them. Not because the crime is extreme, but because the reasoning is familiar. Pressure, fear, the belief that there is no other option. The audience doesn't see villains. They see reflections, and that recognition is uncomfortable. Bonus facts. What you notice on rewatch, bonus fact 1. The film feels less playful every time you watch it because the warning becomes clearer. Bonus fact 2. Moments that felt funny at first feel tragic on rewatch. Bonus fact 3. The heist scenes lose excitement, while the quiet aftermath gains power. Bonus fact 4. The movie isn't about stealing money. It's about how pressure reveals character. This movie isn't saying crime doesn't pay. That lesson is easy. It's saying something harder. Pressure changes people long before they realize it's happening. And once it does, you don't get to undo the shift. If this story made you uneasy, that means it worked. And if you enjoy films that don't just entertain, but examine human behavior, then subscribe. This channel isn't about heroes or villains. It's about choices, pressure, and consequences. Before you go, answer honestly. Under enough pressure, what line would you cross? Drop your answer in the comments.